So it's Wednesday, August the 18th. A lot of things to get to. We're getting ever so close to week 2 of the preseason getting kicked off. Cuts have been made. Rosters have been trimmed down to 85. Some notable cuts made. One in particular that I'll mention briefly. And a slew of other topics to get to, including Jamal Adams finally getting to the bag. You know what it is. It's the Louie T Network podcast, and it starts now. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 191st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, NFL rosters trimmed down to 85 as we start trimming off the fat of some of these rosters as we go and we, have this race to 53. And what was funny when these rosters started to be assembled, one of the names that caused a big stir and really was much to do about nothing, because we talked about this and I said, what difference does it make if he gets a chance? If he doesn't make the team, who gives a shit? If he makes it, good for him. That means he deserved to make it. If he doesn't, that means he wasn't good enough. But who cares if he gets a chance? Oh, he's stopping someone from having a chance to make the roster. That guy probably wasn't going to make the roster any damn way if Tim Tebow's got a spot. But Tim Tebow was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday among their cuts to get down to 85 players. We all saw the clips on socials of him trying to block. Bless his heart. They were very feeble attempts, if I'm going to put it very mildly, because I like Tim Tebow, unlike a lot of people out there that seem to have something against him. He gave it a run, man. The guy tried it. When you're a quarterback, it's tough to have that physicality. That's why it's so impressive to watch what Logan Thomas has done. But again, that didn't happen overnight. Logan Thomas took 3 years to make the full conversion from quarterback to tight end to actually get to Washington. So he was in Detroit. He was in Buffalo. He spent time behind the scenes when nobody was watching, honing in on his craft to do what it is he's doing now. Tim Tebow essentially tried to do that in about 3 months' time. Not enough time to make that conversion, make the team, and actually have an impact. So I didn't think it was going to go well for him and end up in his favor. But, he gave it a run. He said it was a dream for him to try to make that switch. It didn't come true, but at least he had the opportunity. So good for Tim Tebow. Now we can move on and you guys can leave him alone. And he'll go back to working for the SEC network or ESPN or one of these media outlets, and he'll do a hell of a job. So with that said, you know what it is, okay? It's Wednesday. So social media maneuvers coming down the pipe a little bit later on in the show. But as I've already told you guys, I'm going to watch every single episode of Hard Knocks, and we're going to break them down on Wednesdays, the day after the show has aired live, and we'll talk about that episode and recap it. So I watched episode 2 of Training Camp Hard Knocks with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get into the recap of that episode and talk about episode 2. So let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So I talked about last week's episode, and a lot of you were like, oh, the Cowboys training camp, the Hard Knocks was trash, and this, that, and the third. Okay, whatever. It's not for everybody, okay? I enjoy these episodes. I don't know what you guys are looking for, okay? I really don't know what you're looking for. You're not going to get, Chad Johnson, beating up his girlfriend and then having to have the awkward conversation of getting cut by the Miami Dolphins. That's not happening here, okay? So if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to get that in this year's Hard Knocks, okay? And that's a rare occurrence. You're not going to get Antonio Brown with the feet and the cryogenics and all of the nonsense he had going on. You're not getting that in this year's Hard Knocks. So if that's what you're looking for, wrong place, wrong time, come back next year. Maybe you'll get it then. However, I don't come to Hard Knocks for that when I do decide to go. I come because I'm truly, genuinely interested in what goes on behind the scenes at these training camps. And I told you, if you've played sports before, there's a level of camaraderie that comes with it that I just miss. So I like seeing guys being able to take part in it because that's something that I'll never be able to get back. That part of my life is gone. That ship has sailed. So I like watching guys enjoy that part of my life that I did enjoy as well. So every year, Hard Knocks follows a bubble player, a guy that is a long shot to make the roster. And, you know, they give you his background, they give you a feel-good story, and then they pull at your heartstrings. They want you to root for this guy. You know, they want to turn him into somewhat of a cult figure. They didn't do that in episode 1, which was surprising. Usually every year they do that. They start planting the seeds in episode 1. They decided to follow a lot of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and their bond. They talked about Mike McCarthy and, you know, so they went in a different direction in episode 1. Episode 2, they went back and they started to plant those seeds for the guy on the bubble that you should be rooting for during the show. That guy's name is Azur Kamara. He is from the Sudan. I think he's a Sudanese refugee that came over here when he was a young kid and ended up going, I think they migrated here to Arizona. He ended up going to the University of Kansas, undrafted, was on the Cowboys practice squad last year. He's an undersized defensive end. The guy's like 200 and I think like 34 pounds, and he's playing DN. I thought he's playing linebacker, and then they showed him rushing the quarterback, and I'm like, oh, he's a DN. Ouch, yikes. So he's a long shot to make the football team. That's the guy we're supposed to be rooting for. So they went ahead and planted those seeds in episode 2. Also, they've got us, and this is the guy that I thought they were going to follow initially. They kind of, you know, showed a little bit of him in episode 1, but they never really introduced him. They didn't have any backstory for him. They're starting to give us little crumbs of this Isaac Alarcon, offensive tackle, who apparently, if I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together, he's probably in the IPP, the International Pathway Program, because he and another player from the Arizona Cardinals said, he said, look around the field. All of these guys played college ball. We didn't. And look where we are. So I'm assuming both of those guys, similar to Samis Reyes, if you're a Washington fan, you know about that. We're in the IPP. You know, David Bada right now is on the roster on the IPP. And so those guys don't count against your roster because they're developing as an overseas player, learning how to play in the NFL. So they're giving us bits and pieces about him. They're not really focusing in on him, but they keep going to him. So I think he's going to be another guy that they're going to kind of cut to and give you little tidbits about him as well. The spotlight this episode from a coaching standpoint, last week they gave us a little bit of the Mike McCarthy background, and they also threw in defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. This week they spotlighted defensive line coach Aiden Durde. He's really interesting because you hear the accent. Obviously, he's from across the pond, and generally those dudes don't end up coaching American players. So I was wondering what his story was because I was fascinated. I heard him in episode 1 talking, and I'm like, damn, does he have an English accent? And so they went back and they cleaned all of that up. His story is fascinating. Played in NFL Europe, was on the practice squad of a couple of NFL teams. I think he said the Chiefs and the Panthers. Then, you know, cut his teeth in the coaching ranks like you see often with these positional coaches. And went to Atlanta, started out with the Cowboys, went to Atlanta. Now he's back with the Cowboys again as a D-line coach. And they make fun of him because of his accent. Like he said, if I call this, you think it's a run or a pass? And somebody said a pass. And he heard it. He caught it because I caught it too. And I went back and I said, did he say that in the English accent? It was funny because I went back I listened to it and I heard pause. And then he said, "You said that in an English accent." He said, "No, I didn't." He said, "Yes, you did. I heard you say pause." So that was funny. I got a kick out of that. Jerry Jones gets on my nerves to no end. I can't stand him. Anyway, I digress. Highlighted players in this particular episode: Ben DiNucci, CeeDee Lamb, Terrell Basham, and Tank Lawrence. So you saw Tank Lawrence with his family and talked about, the transition and adjustment he's made since getting into the league. He's now, I think, into his 8th year. And his wife talked about patience and things that he's grown as a man because of the exposure he's had in the league. And he talked about his growth as a dad and as a player and things of that nature. All of that was really to lead into the introduction of defensive line coach Aiden Durde. But Terrell Basham, this is the part of football that sucks. Okay, so Terrell Basham is a guy that I liked coming out of Ohio. Okay, he came out of the MAC and played for Ohio, and he was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. And I thought this kid was going to be a stud. He had the bend, he had the juice, and the explosion off the snap. I said he's going to be a stud, and for whatever reason, he hasn't developed the way that I thought he was going to at the next level. Injuries have been a part of that, but sometimes guys just don't get into great fits, or the explosion and all the things you saw really were a figment of your imagination. Maybe the conference they played in wasn't that great. You get to another level where the competition level is exceptional and they don't make that adjustment. Whatever the case may be, I'm still waiting for Terrell Basham to start to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I was thinking maybe this could be the year, because he's coming off of a career year, had 4.5 sacks last year, and now the Cowboys signed him as a free agent, and you're waiting for this guy to explode. I don't hope it happens with Dallas, obviously, as a Washington fan, but I know the guy's capable. Anyway, this is the part of football that sucks. So he's dying for his opportunity. He's talking about different things he wants to do. He's having a good time at camp, making fun of the coach, all of these good things. You get to the joint practice with the Rams, and it's time to perform. And he goes out on special teams, because that's the first part of the practice that they're going to work on against each other is specials. He could probably care less about special teams, but that's a part of his job that's going to help him make the roster. So he goes out there and somebody rolls up on his ankle. And just like that, you go from being excited to getting work against another team to, really solidify your spot on this roster to now you're out with a ankle injury. And who knows when you're going to be back. And, the craziest part, when he gets injured, they tape it up. He tries to go. He can't go. As he's walking off the field, he stops. He turns around and he watches a play, and it's Tank Lawrence beating, one of the tackles for the Rams around the corner and saying, "That's a sack. That's a sack." Because, you can't hit the quarterback. And he sees that play and he's thinking to himself, "Man, I should be out there. This is some bullshit." And then he walks away. So who knows when he'll get another opportunity. Now he can't play in a preseason game, and he didn't play against Arizona. Who knows if he'll be able to play in a preseason game this week. But that's the part of football that sucks. And, as a Washington fan, you see it like we are so excited about Sammy Reyes, and now he's got a concussion, and he's not going to play against Cincinnati on Friday. That sucks. That's a guy that we wanted to see. So you can kind of, equate it and use another situation to allow you to be able to make sense of that situation and compare it and say, you know what? Yeah, that does suck. For a lot of you Washington fans out there that don't have sympathy, that's the way you can look at that. CeeDee Lamb, this is the reason I didn't want him in Dallas. Every year, there's certain players you just don't want in your division. And there are about 3 or 4 of them. Most of the guys, I could care less. You get in the division, it is what it is. Like I always say, I just worry about what we're doing. I don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because we take care. If you're better, this is the rule. If you're better. If you're not better, then yeah, you have to worry about what everybody else is doing, because your winning in the division depends on if those other teams can allow you to have an opportunity to win, because you're not better than them. When you're better, you don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You just worry about yourself. You take care of what you're supposed to take care of. You'll win because you're better than them. I feel like we're in that position. I think we're better than roster-wise, better than every team in the division. That said, I didn't want CeeDee Lamb in the division. I didn't want him to be drafted by anybody. And I thought we were in the clear last year. And then he falls to Dallas at, I think it was 17 or something like that. They couldn't pass him up. They didn't need another receiver, but they couldn't pass him up. He's performing at a high level in camp this year. And they highlighted that Michael Irvin was talking about how well CeeDee Lamb's look. Jerry Jones, same thing. I know this guy's going to be a beast. He was my number one wide receiver in that year's draft class. If you recall, that was the year with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. All of those guys went before him. And I'm like, that's cool. All those Alabama boys going before him. But this is the dude right here, CeeDee Lamb. Now, he didn't run a 4.3 like the rest of those guys. He's plenty fast, and he's going to catch the damn football. He's going to be a problem. And he's rounding into form. So they highlighted him. And then Ben DiNucci, a guy that was thrusted into the lineup last year due to the injury to Dak Prescott last year. And he didn't look good. He did not look good at all. And didn't look good for his NFL career. Honestly, the Cowboys have done a horrendous job of putting backup quarterbacks on their team that can actually give them quality snaps. Now, they've gotten away with it for years, whether it's been Cooper Rush or Mike White or some of these other guys that they've drafted or undrafted guys that they've tried to pass off as backup quarterbacks. They haven't had to play because their starters have stayed relatively injury-free. Translation, Dak Prescott stayed relatively healthy. You know, when Tony Romo was there, they always had to tap into their backup because he was oft injured. But since Dak's come into the league, he's been relatively healthy. So they haven't had to go to a backup quarterback very often. Well, last year kind of shed a little bit of light on the fact that they needed to do something. And they actually, the one year they actually had a guy, they had Andy Dalton. He gets injured, and so Ben DiNucci had to play. And again, it wasn't good. Well, that was his first year. He probably didn't expect to play. He had to play. Now, he's fighting for his life because don't know if the Cowboys are going to keep 2 or 3 quarterbacks. They'll probably keep 3 because of Dak's situation. But DiNucci was highlighted as a guy that, you know, needs to play well in his preseason to justify having a roster spot with the Dallas Cowboys this year. And you saw what he did in the preseason game versus Arizona, leading them down the field and throwing that touchdown pass to give them the lead, which ultimately did not stick as they ultimately lost on a walk-off field goal. But DiNucci was highlighted as well. Joint practices between the Rams and the Cowboys got heated out in Oxnard. I wanted to talk about this. Remember when I had the episode when I said, man, you could tell it's getting hot outside because that's when shit starts to go sideways. That was one of the things that I wanted to reference that day. But I was like, I'm going to save it for Hard Knocks because I know they're going to highlight that in one of these episodes. And sure enough, episode 2, they did. I've told you guys this already. There's crazy, and then there's crazy, right? I think we've had this discussion before. So I'll give you a couple of examples of crazy versus crazy. So, you know, there are guys like Odell Beckham. He's crazy. He's not crazy, okay? He tries to make you think he's crazy. He's just crazy. You're not afraid of him, okay? Steve Smith Sr., he's crazy, okay? That's different. You should be very, very afraid of him because he's effing Looney Tunes, okay? He's crazy. Crazy. Give you another one. Kyle Turley, when he was in the league. Remember he took the guy's helmet off and flung it 8 million feet on the field. Crazy. One of those dudes you don't want to run into in a dark alley. Crazy. He'll go to jail over beating your ass. He's crazy. Okay? Albert Hainsworth. He's just crazy. Not crazy. He's not a Looney Tunes. He's not one picnic bag. He's not one taco short of a combination plate. He just tries to act tough. He's not crazy. He's just crazy. There's a difference. Okay? One more. And I've told you about this guy a million times. Okay? The offensive lineman, what is his name for the Vegas Raiders? Just signed again. I got to look it up. It'll kill me if I can't think of his name. Vegas Raiders. former Richie Incognito. I don't have to look it up. There it is. Richie Incognito. Crazy, crazy. Okay? Crazy, crazy. One of those dudes that'll be waiting for you at your car with a gun after practice. That's Richie Incognito. Crazy, crazy. You got to know who you're dealing with. Aaron Donald, never, ever trust a man with two first names. Is crazy, crazy. He don't give two shits. Preseason game, regular season game, playoff game. I don't even know if he can control himself. When he gets mad, he sees red and it's over. And we already know how strong he is. He's one of the strongest dudes in the league. He's a freak. You can count on one thing happening every single NFL season. Aaron Donald's going to get in a fight with somebody. Aaron Donald he may not get tossed from a game, but in all likelihood, he's going to get tossed from at least one game every season. Aaron Donald is effing crazy, crazy. So when I heard that there was a dust-up between these two teams, the first name that popped into my head was, of course, you guessed it, Aaron Donald. I said, I bet you my man AD never, ever trust a man. Two first names. I bet you he's in the middle of this scrum somewhere. And sure enough, and it's always the same shit with Aaron. You know, gets a little offended by somebody doing something, and next thing you know, he's got a hold of somebody's helmet, and he won't let go. He's not letting go of that shit. I don't care if they're on a pile with 30 dudes on top of them. I guarantee you when they unpile everybody, Aaron still got his damn hand on that face mask. If that shit's even still attached to that person's head, he's not letting go of that shit. Anyway, I see Billy Mack out there. That's a good one, Billy Mack. Bill Romanowski, crazy, crazy. Okay? Yeah, crazy, crazy. It's certain dudes, you know, you look at them, you see their mannerisms, you see how they conduct themselves. You say, okay, yeah, he ain't wired too damn tight. He ain't wrapped too tight. He got a few loose screws. He's missing a taco or two. Yeah, one of those wires don't connect where it should go. So that's a good one, Billy Mack. Anyway, I knew that was going to happen. So, and you can tell anytime you're in camp, that's why I'm not the biggest fan of joint practice, because something's bound to happen in these things, you know. But the Dolphins had a joint practice with the Bears last week. Nothing came of that. They're having joint practices currently with the Atlanta Falcons. Everything seems to be going well there. So I guess if you can control yourself, it doesn't have to be that way, but it's going to be hard for the Rams to have a joint practice and have nothing go down, because Aaron Donald he's that dude. Anyway, I digress. So they showed that. And then I got to say this before we get out of here. Micah Parsons, he is a magnet, and not in a good way. So watching this episode kind of reinforced some of the things I saw from the first episode. I wasn't that turned off by him in the first episode. A lot more turned off by him in this episode. So one thing I noticed very quickly in episode 2 is that he wants all of the praise, all of the good stuff. He wants all of the praise. Give me all of that. Shower me with as much praise as you can possibly shower me with. I want all the credit when something goes down, if it's positive. I want none of the negative stuff, though. Okay? I want no smoke. So he loses in chess. And Ben DiNucci kicked his ass. You can see it. He had no chance to win from very early on. Ben DiNucci already knew, I got you. It's over, bro. He said, do you want to call it right now? And he's like, nah. Ben was going to mess up at some point and give him a chance. And he ended up losing, And at the end, he wouldn't give him his credit. He said, man, you're not even good, man. I messed up. You're not even good. That sounds like some shit I would have said when I was 13 when I used to play Madden, when I didn't want to give somebody props for kicking my ass. You got your ass whooped. You know what I mean? He's not good. Okay, fine. In the game against Arizona, a fumble was forced. I told you guys on last episode, matter of fact, that was yesterday, Keanu Neal forced that fumble. That was all Keanu Neal. Keanu Neal got there first. Keanu Neal reached in the cookie jar. Keanu Neal reached in there and grabbed a cookie out. Yum, yum, eat him up. Yum, yum, eat him up. He got there right after Keanu Neal did and stood the guy up. So he did have a small part, but Keanu Neal was going to rip that guy of the football, regardless of Micah Parsons showed up to the party or not. That ball was coming out. Keanu Neal had already got to him and stuck his hand in there and aggressively lawnmowed that thing out of there. He comes off to the sideline and Micah Parsons says, "I'm that dude. That's what I do." I'm like, Micah, you actually didn't really do anything. You were very, very small. Your part was very minuscule in the causing of that fumble. But okay, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. So I already see where this is going with him. He wants all the praise. He wants to take credit for things that he didn't necessarily do. And he doesn't want to take responsibility. You could see how he could get himself into some trouble. That's all I'm saying. But hell of a football player. You can't deny that. They got themselves one hell of a football player in Micah Parsons, if I may say so myself. Anyway, I digress. So that is episode 2 of Hard Knocks. I don't know where they're going to go for episode 3 other than AK. They're going to continue to follow him around, the defensive end that's trying to make the team. I guess they'll follow Dak Prescott's saga with the shoulder injury and the second opinion. I guess we'll see more of Dak this next episode because we didn't see a ton of him in episode 2. Ezekiel Elliott is starting to get on my nerves as well. He hasn't even really done anything to get on my nerves. He's just annoying right now. Only thing that I did find funny is that at the beginning of the show, his balls were chafing. He should have had some Manscaped. He would have had that whole situation taken care of if he had the right tools for the job. See that shameless plug I just had right there? But other than that, eating sunflower seeds and making a whole bunch of unnecessary noise. Yeah! Okay. Save me. Spare me, please. But anyway, I digress. That's Hard Knocks episode number 2. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know you guys didn't enjoy 1. If you didn't enjoy 1, you probably didn't enjoy 2. I enjoyed both episodes. Looking forward to episode number 3. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into social media maneuvers. You are dialed in to the 191st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I will see you guys on the other side. You already know, and if you don't, your ass better call somebody. Backed by popular demand are the LTN Exclusives platter of pools and leagues for the upcoming 2021 NFL season. First up, we start with the LTN NFL Weekly Pick'em Pool. No year-long commitment here. Rather, this is a week-to-week pool that allows players to pick winners of each week's games, including a Monday night winner with combined points, which serves as a tiebreaker. So essentially, you pick a winner for each and every single game, and then Monday night, you pick a winner and points combined between the two teams. That serves as a tiebreaker. The person with the least amount of losses wins the entire pot. $7 per sheet. Winner takes all, minus a $2 per sheet maintenance fee. No limit as to how many sheets you can play per week. So if you want to play 3 hands because you think that gives you a better chance to win, by all means, knock yourself out. Must have PayPal or CashApp to participate, as that's how you will turn in your money and that's how you will receive your earnings should you win. Link to sign up in the description of this video. Just head over to LouieTeeNetwork.net and hit the LTN Exclusives tab if you don't want to hit the link down in the description. Next up, we have the 9th annual Louie T Network Soul Survivor Pool. I am 0 for 8 in this department. I am dying to get a win here. Survivor pool rules apply. So simply, you pick a team to get you through to the next week. If that team wins, you advance to the next week. You can no longer pick that team for the remainder of the pool, and so forth, so forth. The team you pick loses, you're then eliminated. Last player or participating member standing wins the entire pool. $20 entry fee here. Winner takes all. Must have PayPal or Cash App to participate. Once again, same thing. You need those two, one of the two, to pay and then to get the money should you win. The link is down in the description of this video to register for the Survivor Pool. Just need to either hit that link and it'll send you directly to where you need to go, or you can go over to LouieTeeNetwork.net, hit the LTN exclusives tab, and go from there. Finally, we go to the Don Dada, the granddaddy of them all, Winners and Losers League. Okay, this is a year-long league requiring weekly selections to be made for 18 straight weeks. So if you cannot make a season-long commitment to put in picks each and every single week, this is not the league for you. We talk about the NFL being a war of attrition and not being a sprint, but rather a marathon. That's exactly what this league is. A running accumulation of wins and losses will be kept, and the winner will be the person with the best win-loss record at the end of the season. Okay, winner will take all, will get the championship belt and the title of Winners and Losers champ. You're listening right now to the current two-time Winners and Losers champ, and I don't see that changing in the upcoming season. $25 entry fee, must have PayPal or Cash App to participate for the same reasons I mentioned before. Link in the description to join this league. Go ahead and make sure you do that expeditiously. Get over there and sign up as quickly as possible so we can get all the particulars hammered out, and you'll know how many people are in it and how much money is going to be awarded to the winner, which is going to be me. And so, again, all of the pools and leagues, you can see the links down in the description and click those specific links to wherever you want to go, or you can just head over to LouieTeeNetwork.net and hit the LTN exclusives tab, and that will show you where you need to go, and you'll have all of the buttons directing you. Please read all of the different prompts once you get to those specific pools and leagues so that you don't miss any of the small, finer, granular details. That being said, that's it. LTN exclusives for the 2021 season officially open for business. Please sign up. Let's have fun. But most importantly, let's get dubs. Bart Scott can't wait. Welcome back to the 191st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, you know the routine. Make sure that you subscribe to the Louie T Network podcast wherever you're getting this so you don't miss an episode. Rate it 5 stars if at all possible, and review this in a positive light as it helps this podcast rate and rank. So if you're watching this at home, please make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also hit the like button, as that helps this channel grow exponentially. You guys know what it is. It's Wednesday. And so with that being said, social media maneuvers are on the horizon. So load them up. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. And we'll get as many of these knocked out as possible. If you want to jump to the front of the line, you know how to do it. Super chat function is the way to make that happen. Super chats come first. All other comments come thereafter. So with that said, I want to quickly get to a super chat that I had earlier in the show and knock that out. And then we'll get to some comments. This first one here is from Honor Immortal. Thank you for the super chat, Honor Immortal. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, I went to my first training camp, Lou, and I had trouble figuring out if an interception was good or bad. Who do you root for during a scrimmage? So honestly, a good play is a good play, you know, whether it's made by the offense or the defense. It was funny because I was listening to Mic'd Up, you know, one of the Washington Mic'd Ups. I think it might have been William Jackson III. It was either him or Chase Young's. I think it was William Jackson III. And he was talking to another member of the secondary. He was like, man, we won't get no love out here. You know, we make a play and We won't hear nothing. It's crickets. But, you know, Terry McLaurin make one catch and they going bananas. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the fans. You know, they want to see the offense. They don't want to see the defense win. I myself, I just want to see a good play. If it's a pass breakup, I'm excited for the defender. If it's an interception, I'm excited for the defender. If it's a great catch, I'm excited for the receiver that made the catch, the quarterback for making the throw. I'm excited for good play. You know, what I don't want to see is trash on both parts. That's when I'm going to keep quiet. But if a play is made, I'm excited either way because you're there for one common goal to get better. And if a defender is making a play, he's getting better. If an offensive player is making a play, you'd like to think that he's getting better and learning from it. Either way, you feel like the player should be learning from it, good or bad. So I'm cheering for everything, essentially, as long as it doesn't look like we're out of sync, you know, or you know, neither part of the team is really playing all that well. I'm cheering for just about everything. A pass breakup, all right, man, hell of a pass breakup. You know, that's me. I want to see it. I want to see all of it. You know what I mean? So I get it though. You know, and a lot of times when you go to training camp or you go to practices, the only thing that fans cheer for is the offense, which is bullshit to me. So I know where you're coming from. I cheer for everything. That's my thing. I cheer for both offensive and defensive plays because the defense need love too. You know what I'm saying? They need love as well. So thank you for that super chat. It can be really confusing though. I know where you're coming from. Honor Immortal. Really do appreciate the super chats. Rich, thank you for the comment, who writes, when is the Washington Football Nightly starting? And I know you talked about it yesterday, but who did you think was amazing during week one? Week one of what? Who? What game? What are you talking about? All the preseason games? You're talking about one game in particular? Talking about the Dallas game? What are you talking about in particular? Yeah, the football Washington Football Nightly starts the week of the first game. So I think that would be that Tuesday. I'm not going to start on Labor Day Monday. So I think that would be the 7th, because I think the first game is on the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So the 7th would be the first episode of Washington Football Nightly, Tuesday, September 7th. And then it'll be on and popping from that point on until the end of the season. Comment here from Captain Spartan says, just so you know, we Steeler fans are concerned about Devin Bush struggling in coverage, acting a fool on social media, and saying no one controls him and not wearing the green dot. You should be concerned about him. And I remember I really liked him coming out of Michigan, but something changed when he got to the league. I don't know him personally. I don't know how he was at Michigan, but I'd like to think he was a lot more buttoned up. But I told you, he was talking reckless. There's something about that locker room in Pittsburgh, and everyone from the outside looking in feels like Mike Tomlin is this great disciplinarian, but yet there are always problems in Pittsburgh, and there always seems to be some shit going on with the Steelers, whether it's Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, there always seems to be some kind of disruptive force in that locker room. I told you I didn't like the comments from Stephon Tuitt last year when he was out, when they beat the Ravens, like, yeah, y'all go ahead and handle business. You know, this is an easy win type of deal. I'll be back next week to catch up with y'all. And that next week's game happened to be Washington, and we gave y'all your first L of the season. But it's just little stuff like that. I'm like, what are you doing? Juju Smith-Schuster dancing, even though he's a harmless guy and it's all fun for him. Like, it just always seems to be something going on in that Steelers locker room. And Devin Bush seems to be a guy that's pretty impressionable. He's seen other guys doing whatever the hell they want to do, and he figures, I'm going to do the same goddamn thing. What are you going to do? So, I don't know. Hopefully it's a little phase he's going through and he'll snap out of it. But I can tell you this. He's good, but he's not good enough to be doing some of the things that I've been hearing he's been doing. You're not the first person to tell me that they are concerned about him. And, you know, and this is coming off of an injury. You know what I mean? So I for Devin Bush, he should be locked in. And I don't think he is right now. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's something to keep an eye on. I got a super chat here from Condo P. My girl, Condo P. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Condo P writes, hey, Lou, have you seen the clip of Andy Dalton saying this is his time and Fields has a great career ahead of him? Yes. I was going to end the show with that, but since you brought it up, we'll talk about it right now. So Andy Dalton, the red rifle, I love it, man. You got to love when a veteran doesn't understand his role. And so Andy's not ready to relinquish the title of starting quarterback yet. He in his mind, he left Dallas and came to Chicago to have a chance to start. And I'm pretty sure they told Andy Dalton, hey, we're gonna pull the trigger on Justin Fields here. We're gonna move up and draft him. And he was okay with that because in his mind, he's saying, hey, I only signed a 1-year deal, so I'm gonna get a chance to start. And if I mess up, then he comes in and it is what it is, but at least I'm gonna have a chance to start first. And then if I can't take care of business, they can move on and go with the young fella. I understand that part of the business. However, Andy's like, I need to get my chance first. Like, I'm not going to just allow this young fella to come in here and y'all want to make everything about the young fella. Like, stop asking me questions. And I can tell you, I didn't watch the entire press conference. I haven't watched Andy Dalton pressers all off season, but I guarantee you at least 40% of the questions he's had to answer this year have had nothing to do with himself, but more so, what have you seen in Justin Fields? What kind of growth have you seen with the young quarterback? What kind of pointers have you been giving him? What do you see in his skill set that allows him to be as dynamic? You get tired of answering that shit because at one point you say to yourself, my name isn't Justin Fields. My name is Andy Dalton. You got Justin Field questions. You redirect them to Justin mother effing Fields. If you got Andy Dalton questions, ask me those. Okay? At some point, that's what you want to say. And I think he got to that point today where now he had that preseason game under his belt. He looked good. People want to crown him and they want him to start immediately. And Andy's like, whoa. Let me make one thing clear to y'all. Justin Fields is going to be a phenomenal quarterback in this league. Okay, he really is. He's got immense talent. However, it's my time right now. I'm the starter of this football team. Don't you forget it. Okay, until Matt Nagy comes and taps me on the shoulder and says, I'm going with the young fella, I'm the quarterback of this team, the starting QB. Need y'all to address me as such. And that's Andy's way of telling the media, stop asking me about Justin Fields. Ask me about me. Because last time I checked, they brought me here to start week 1. Nothing's changed. No one's told me anything different. So stop asking me about Justin Fields. He'll have his time in the league. But right now, it's time for me to play. Now, I'm like, Andy? I'm like, hey, Andy, I know how you feel, bro. I know where this is coming from. It's a lot of pent-up energy. But you can't do that, Andy. You know better than that. You know better. You know better. No flex zone. No flex zone. You know not to flex like that in front of the media. Now shit's going to be a little awkward in the quarterback room. But Andy was feeling the pressure of them asking him these questions. He's like, look, I need to dead this shit right now. It's funny stuff, man. But it's one of those moments where you go, oops. And I bet you Andy regrets it right now. I bet after he said it, he was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. But that's how he was feeling. I'm not mad at him. I'm not glad at him either. I'm not glad at him either. And he'll be out before you know it. I think the leash is going to be rather short for him this year. So we'll see what happens. But Andy Dalton is a hilarious guy for that one. But that's Andy saying, look, I can still play at a high level in this league, man. Don't count me out. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat. Condo P. Let's see if we got any more comments. Captain Spartan says, since you break down all these players in the draft, is there any safety in your mind that came out that has range and pretty decent on special teams? Steelers need one. Norwood is trash. So Norwood, I think I said he was like a 3rd or 4th round pick. I think he was like a 6th or 7th round pick. The dude can't run. That's his biggest problem. That was his problem in college, which is why he was initially a corner. They moved him to safety because he can't run. So he's got tremendous ball skills. He can't run. And you're going to get exposed if you don't take proper angles. And if you're not a smart, heady football player and know where to go, you don't do enough film study, you don't have the makeup speed to take false steps or take poor angles, you're going to get beat. And we saw him get smoked, absolutely run by in the first preseason game. Well, second for the Steelers, first preseason game for the Eagles. Smoked on a simple wide receiver screen. So, yeah, there are plenty of safeties. Hell, we got one on our team that has some range and some speed, Derek Forrest, that can run, and a core special teamer, but you can't have him. You can't have him. You're in trouble. And you're going to probably have to scour some teams' rosters when these cuts start to be made if you decide that Trey Norwood isn't good enough to get the job done. But, yeah, that's essentially what it is. Anyhow, got a super chat here from Condo P. Double up. I think that's one we already handled. This one is from Thomas Carter. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas Carter. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support, Thomas Carter. I want to read this comment. Maybe you meant to super chat this comment, so I'm going to read this one right here. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas Carter. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Washington football team as an organization won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. In my opinion, it can be done again. In your opinion, do you have to have a franchise quarterback to win the chip? Yes. You don't have to. So let me preface this statement that I'm about to make, because I've had this discussion already. I want to say I've had it on this podcast before, if not on the podcast, on the Washington Football Report Live program. I think it might have been on that program, not this one. So what I've essentially come to the conclusion about the quarterback position in today's NFL is you have to either have a quarterback that's playing elite, or you have to have an elite quarterback. One of the two. You can't get there without one of the two. So let me repeat that again. You either have to have a quarterback that's playing elite or a quarterback that is elite to win a Super Bowl. Nicholas Foles by no means is an elite quarterback, but when they won in 2017, he was playing at an elite level. He outdueled Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. They needed 43 points to outlast the Patriots. They couldn't have done that if Nicholas Foles was just playing at a good level or at a great level. He needed to be playing at an elite level, and he was. 2011, Joe Flacco. Nobody has ever said Joe Flacco is an elite NFL quarterback. But that postseason, Joe Flacco, my guy Joe, was as elite as it gets. He was playing at an elite level. That's how they won that Super Bowl. Joe Flacco was in fuego. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions that postseason run. That's how you look at all the so those are the two outliers. Look at all the other Super Bowl winners in that space. Okay, I think Flacco was 2012. Look at all the Super Bowl winners from 2012 to now, and those are the two outliers. Every other quarterback, every other Super Bowl has been won by a team quarterbacked by an elite quarterback. Patriots a bunch of times. You got the Broncos in 15. Peyton Manning wasn't elite in terms of his play at that time. He was still an elite quarterback, but he wasn't playing at an elite level, and he wasn't elite in terms of his status, but he still had it up here, but they had a ridiculous defense. Their defense, and again, that's something that can offset not having an elite quarterback or a quarterback playing at an elite level. You have to have one of the best defenses in NFL history to do that, which is, it's almost impossible to do. You know what I mean? You still need something out of your quarterback unless you're that defense. And we almost saw it again with the 49ers because Jimmy Garoppolo was nor elite, nor was he playing elite. And the 49ers defensively were that good that year. They almost got it done. But what we find in these situations is that you still need something from your quarterback, or your defense has to be suffocating. And what happened was they were up 20-10 with 7 minutes left, and their defense could no longer suffocate the best offense in football. They needed something from Jimmy Garoppolo. They got nothing. So if you're not going to have one of those elite scenarios where your quarterback's playing at an elite level or he is elite, your defense better be out of this world. We better be having a conversation about your defense being amongst the ranks of the 2002 Bucks, the 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, and some of those elite defenses over the years. We better be having a conversation about your defense being in that category. And those 2015 Broncos were in that category. Those 49ers in 2019 had a chance to thrust themselves into that category. They couldn't hold on to a 10-point lead with 7 minutes left. So, again, it's tough, man. With the way the rules are set up and the way the game is played, you can't get – back in the day, you could get by because the rules were different. The game was played differently. You could win with a run game, a tough defense, and some timely quarterbacking. You can't do that shit anymore. The Tennessee Titans won't win with the formula that they currently have. They'll need more from their defense. They'll need more from their defense because they tried to shorten the game against the Chiefs 2 years ago in the AFC Championship. And they did a phenomenal job for the first 2 quarters or a quarter and a half. They were up 17-7 or something like that. And then they got steamrolled because there's only so long that can work unless the defense is going to step up. And their defense wasn't good enough. So if you're going to try to win with that formula, you better damn well have a defense that can step up, make some plays. That run game better not fail you because their teams are going to put 9 in the box, 10 in the box to stop it. And if they do that, you better be able to make them pay. And that's why they went out and got Julio Jones. Because if you want to try them, if you want to come up and test Derrick Henry in the run game with 9 or 10 in the box, all right, we got to make you pay over the top. We got to deter you from bringing those extra defenders in the box. So they get light boxes. Now Derrick Henry gets to eat free of charge. You want to bring those defenders into the box. Now we got to make you pay over the top. But it's so hard in this league if you don't have an elite quarterback because plays are going to have to be made eventually. And either you got to be playing at an elite level and everything's got to look like it's open to you and you got to be able to make every throw, or you got to be that guy because you're going to have to make plays. So, yeah, the days of winning the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks, they're gone. They're never coming back. Not with the way the rules are set up. Now, the rules are set up for offenses to be dynamic and explosive. And so the elite quarterbacks are going to be allowed to go out and be elite. And you're going to have to be able to combat that with a guy that can go toe-to-toe with that guy. Or else you're probably going to lose. Trust me, what the Buccaneers did was impressive last year. But if Patrick Mahomes didn't have 4/5 of his offensive line injured going into that game, that's a totally different ball game. I lie to you not. The circumstances all aligned for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, and they took full advantage. Take nothing away from them. But that's a totally different game if their offensive line isn't torn to shreds. So, great question. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas Carter. Really do appreciate you. Got a super chat here from the Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat, the Phillies Ace 34, who writes, "My man Lou, what's good, my friend?" He said, "What's good with you?" He says, "I know everyone in the NFC East is not sold on Hurts, but is it possible he can catch something in a bottle like Tebow?" I was impressed with his first performance against the Steelers. I mean, it wasn't a large sample size, but, you know, the 2 possessions he was in there, I thought he did some really good things, man. So I want to see more. I'm not sold on him. I've already explained that, but he's shown me flashes. You know, that Arizona Cardinals game last year, he was outstanding. They didn't win, but he gave it everything he had. And then, like I said, that was a nice little performance against the Steelers in the preseason. We'll see if that carries over, but sure, he could catch lightning in the bottle. Why not? Anybody can. We saw Ryan Tannehill catch lightning in a bottle and take the Titans all the way to the NFC Championship. Now, again, a lot of that was the run game and you know, the defense, but he made throws. You know, we laugh and joke about him only having like 7 passing attempts against the Patriots in that first round game where they beat the Patriots. But I think he was like 5 of 7 or whatever it was. And he made every throw that he needed to make at crucial junctures of that game. There weren't many, but when he was called upon, he made them. Same thing in the Ravens game. You know, we laughed and joked about this guy. I think he had like 17 pass attempts through the first 2 games or whatever, the playoffs. But he managed the game really well, you know. So, sure, he could definitely catch lightning in a bottle. But it's going to take it can't just be him. He's going to need help. Other guys are going to have to step up around him too. Excuse me. Got a super chat here from my guy Gunny Man. Thank you for the super chat, Gunny Man. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Gunny Man writes, "Who's the clown that dislikes every show? Stop hiding behind your keyboard, troll. Comment why you dislike. Hail to the WT Louie T for mayor." Look, it's a part of life, man. I figured that out a long time ago, that you can't please everybody, and that, you know, people are petty. Very, very petty. That stuff doesn't bother me any, and it shouldn't get you riled up either, because that person isn't going to stop hiding. That person is going to continue to dislike every single video that I put out. I guarantee you that person's not only subscribed to me, they turned on their notification bell just so they can see when I upload or go live, so they can dislike the video. And it's okay. It's okay. It's no skin off my back. That person is outnumbered 150 to 1. So that doesn't bother me none. You know, for every dislike, I've probably got 100 likes. I'm cool with that, man. I'm not losing any sleep over the person that decides to dislike any of my videos, especially the one person that does it. I mean, literally, I could go live and within seconds, I've got a dislike. That's fine. I'm not mad, and neither should you. Don't give the standard line in the industry is don't feed the trolls. So don't feed them. I choose not to, and neither should you. I appreciate you though, Gunny Man. Thank you for the super chat. Got another one here from Honor Immortal. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Honor Immortal. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Rob Kelly, Matt Jones, Darius Geis, Keith Marshall, Samaje Perine, Bryce Love, Mac Brown, Silas Red. Why did none of this work? Alfred gone too soon. Well, for starters, all of those guys, with the exception of Darius Geis, to me, didn't have elite talent. Now, you could argue Bryce Love once upon a time did when he was at Stanford, but in the NFL, he just couldn't stay healthy. It never materialized. But all the rest of those guys were either undrafted or guys that were overdrafted, or, you know, they had some kind of defect to their game. You know, Matt Jones, I thought we overdrafted him. You know, that was one of those, what was the name of that damn Scott McCloughan crushes. He just loved Matt Jones's size at 6'2" and about 220. 225. He just loved his size and physicality. Matt Jones wasn't even Matt Jones. Who? Matt Jones wasn't even a lead back at Florida when he was there. But yet we decided to pull the trigger on him in the 3rd round. Samaje Perine, everybody at Oklahoma could have told you that this guy was okay. He wasn't great. You know, he had that one game against Kansas where he went ape shits, over 400 yards rushing, set the NCAA record for most rushing yards in a game. But I think that might have even been in his freshman year. But he lacks top end speed. He's a battering ram, but he doesn't make anybody miss. A lot of those guys they didn't have it to separate them at the next level as NFL runners. That said, if they could have been all of those guys that you named, probably with the exception of Silas Red. I wasn't a big Silas Red fan. All of those guys could have probably been system backs had they been in the Shanahan system. You put them with Kyle Shanahan, any of those running backs, especially Keith Marshall with the speed he had, maybe even Mac Jones. You put those guys in Kyle Shanahan's system, that zone run blocking scheme where it's one cut and go. A lot of these guys could have flourished in that, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you just either not good enough, wrong system fit for your skill set, or, you know, other guys are better than you. So none of those guys worked. A lot of those guys, again, Keith Marshall, 7th round pick. Samaje Perine, I think he was a 4th round pick. Bryce Love, injured. Mac Brown, undrafted. Rob Kelly, undrafted. Matt Jones, overdrafted him in the 3rd round. Like Silas Red, I think he was undrafted as well. He might have been a late round draft choice, 6th or 7th round, something like that. Like, again, none of these guys were really all that good to begin with, outside of Darius Geis, honestly. So, and Bryce Love again, but the injuries never really gave him a shot. So thank you for that super chat. Honor Immortal. All right, let's see if we got some more comments. We'll get to a few more, see what time we working with. Got to get to a few more comments. Let's see. Captain says, we are also looking for a veteran center and guard depth to push Kendrick Green process. This is why I'm still upset we didn't get Creed Humphrey, because he's struggling learning blitz calls. I wasn't a huge fan of Kendrick Green. I already told you that. I didn't love him. And essentially what you were doing was you were taking a guard and converting him to center. And I didn't love that either. And he, not like he didn't play center at all in college. He had experience, but he was more of a guard. I believe he was Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. No, he played for an orange team. I want to say it was Illinois, but either way, I didn't love the pick at all. But they saw something in him, obviously, and we'll see if it works out. It's early. Don't panic. It's early. You know how it is with these players. Not everybody's light bulb comes on at the same time. Just because one guy gets it, comes in and immediately is an impact player, doesn't mean the next guy is going to do the exact same thing, and nor should you expect that from him. You want everybody to come in and contribute right away, but the sad truth is, and the bottom line is, that's not realistic. All right? Some guys need more time. And Kendrick Green may turn out to be a hell of an offensive lineman for you. He just needs more time. Maybe this first year, his head's spinning and everything has to slow down for him. And that doesn't happen until week 11 this season. That didn't happen until week 3 next year. Who's to say? But they have to continue to work with him. It's too early to be using the B word. And I'm not saying that's, I'm not accusing you of doing that, but it's too early to be ready to run. And you said you just want depth. You want to push these guys. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But we'll see what happens. Captain Spartan continues, not only his blitz calls, but just learning the position. Also, his biggest draft weakness, he's still getting pushed back into the quarterback's lap. He's going to be really hard to let go of Creed Humphrey. Again, I told you I didn't like the pick. I saw a lot of defects in this game when you drafted him. But again, I'm not an offensive line coach. They might have seen all of the workable traits that they need to turn this guy into an offensive line stud. I just didn't see it, But again, I'm not an offensive line coach. So sometimes beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And me and you looking at the same guy, you see certain traits and you're like, man, this guy, I can work with this guy. I see this guy and I say, this guy stinks. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And apparently they felt like he had some workable traits that made him a guy that they targeted relatively early in this draft to fit a position, a massive position of need. So we'll see what happens for sure. Got another super chat. This one is from my guy, Gunnyman. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Gunnyman. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Gunnyman writes, real talk, Sammy's making the roster, too much upside, and he's shown he's physical in the run game. We cut him. He'll be picked up immediately. It sucks that he won't be able to participate in this week's game. Hopefully it's just a 1-game hiatus for him, because if he's not out there, it's going to be hard for him to make the roster. And I told you guys when he got injured the first time, they're begging for a reason to put this guy on IR. He cannot give them a reason to do so. They will Cam Sims his behind quick, fast, and in a hurry. Let him have a little ankle tweak or let him sustain some kind of minor injury that he could recover from in a week or two. They'll put him on IR and say, yeah, your season's done, bro. We'll see you next year. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. And this is just a minor hiccup and a setback, a minor setback for the huge comeback. So we'll see. But I agree with you. They cut him. They may not get him back. Now, he has a choice. He's not a veteran, so he doesn't have to clear waivers. They can cut him, during their final 53-man roster cuts, and then have him decide he wants to come back to Washington on the practice squad, which I think he really enjoys this staff, and I think he enjoys, living in DC because that's where he's from. That's where his girlfriend lives. I can't stress that enough. He wants to be in Washington. So I don't think we are going to lose him even if we cut him. But you don't ever want to chance it if you don't have to. But he's going to have to force them to make that decision. Like, don't cut me. If he's not available, then they may have to go in a different direction. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas Carter. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Thomas, who writes, my diamond in the rough to make this year's roster is Jaret Patterson. Do you have a diamond in the rough? I don't think this roster is built for diamond in the roughs, so to speak, other than the one you named. I think this roster is so well put together and it's so deep that nobody's really coming off the pace necessarily to make the football team that we didn't expect. There are a couple of guys that we just anticipated were going to be cut, like a Troy Apke. Trapp's going to be on this football team. I firmly believe that, barring any kind of catastrophe moving forward. But Jaret Patterson is probably the lone guy that is, because remember, we only signed one priority free agent after the draft. So it's not like we had 12 guys come in as undrafted rookies that have a chance. We got pretty much all the dudes from last year that were on the practice squad, and then all the guys who starters, and then the draft picks, and all of the new players that we signed in free agency. Like, we don't have a bunch of guys that we don't know about. We know about Tony Brown from last year as a receiver out of Colorado. He's not going to make the team, but we know about him. Like, he's not a diamond in the rough. You know what I'm saying? We know about Isaiah Wright. He was on the roster last year. He's not a diamond in the rough. Most of those guys, I was excited about a few of these 7th-round picks, William Bradley King, but specifically Shaka Toney. That would have been my guess, Shaka Toney. But as of right now, I think Jaret Patterson is that guy. I agree with you. I think Jaret Patterson is that guy. So we'll see. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Thomas Carter. Got one here from Honor Immortal. Thank you for tripling up, Honor Immortal. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, is AGG another Josh Doctson or Devin Thomas? I'll be fine if he's another Malcolm Kelly. Well, for him to be a Malcolm Kelly, his body has to break down on him, which I don't think is going to happen. If he doesn't work out, then he would fall into that, more so Josh Doctson than Devin Thomas, because Devin Thomas wasn't a 1st-round pick. He was a 2nd-round pick, whereas Doctson I take that back. Doctson was a 1st-round pick. AGG was a 4th-round pick. So honestly, you can't really get worse than Doctson because of his status. He was a 1st-round pick. AGG was a 4th-round pick. You don't want to waste 4th-round picks, but we've seen guys be 4th-round picks and not even make the team, in their rookie year. So we'll see about AGG. I'm not giving up on him. And I don't think this staff is either. I think they like what they've seen in him, and they're going to continue to try to develop him, and they're going to give him every opportunity to make this football team. So I don't see any of those qualities in him right now. Devin Thomas, he just simply couldn't play. That was his problem. He wasn't a good football player. Whereas Josh Doctson, I just think he was passive-aggressive, too passive-aggressive in a sport that rewards aggression. He was too passive-aggressive. So I thought that was his biggest issue, which is why I'm not an Amari Cooper fan. Even though Amari Cooper is a hell of a football player, I just think he's a little too passive-aggressive for me. And I could be wrong about him. He could be an alpha, just a quiet one. I've seen quiet alphas before, like Andre Johnson. I've seen those guys work before. I don't see that in Amari Cooper. But, again, I could be wrong about Amari Cooper. Anyway, Doctson was one of those types of guys that I don't think he loved football. And I'm not saying Amari Cooper doesn't love football. I just don't think Doctson ever loved football. And I don't think that's the case with AGG. I just think that he needs more time. Last year was pretty much a redshirt year. He didn't play a lot. He was injured a lot last year. He didn't get training camp. He really didn't play in training camp. If you think about it, he was injured for most of training camp. He didn't get an off season. There was no OTAs last year. And then he was hurt multiple times last year. So I just think he needs time. So we'll see what happens. We got a couple more comments we can take, and then we'll move on to our final subject and topic of the day. Mike Lowry, thank you for the comment, who writes, I wouldn't mind taking a look at the field goal kicker from Baltimore if he gets released. I don't think they're doing anything with kickers. If Dustin Hopkins doesn't fall completely apart the remainder of the preseason, I don't think they're going in another direction. I'm not even wrapping my brain around looking at other kickers, because right now what Ron has told me is that he's continuing to instill confidence in Dustin Hopkins, and he's not going away from him. So I wouldn't really spend too much time obsessing over other teams' kickers and who they might let go of, because I honestly don't think they're going to do anything or make any moves regarding the field goal kicking position. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you guys out there that want to replace Dustin Hopkins. I don't see it happening, at least not right now. Got a super chat. Thank you for that comment, Mike Lowry. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Silver Villains, greatly appreciate you, my guy. Silver V writes, with Fitz being your quarterback, do you prefer playing conservative, balanced football or more aggressive style? The latter. We want to be more aggressive. I talked about this last year with Washington fans during one of the shows during the postseason, and I said, what did you guys learn about the AFC Championship game, or the championship weekend, excuse me? All four teams, both games. And my biggest takeaway was that all four of those teams could score in the blink of an eye. All four of those teams had explosive capabilities offensively, and without notice could be in the end zone. And honestly, those four teams, Kansas City, Buffalo, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay, were 4 out of the 5 highest scoring teams in the league. I think 3 out of the 4 of those teams were up over 30 points, and the Chiefs were at 29.6, I believe, points per game. And the other 3 were up over 30 points a game. In order to win in this league, you got to be able to score. And we weren't capable of doing that. Everything was a chore for us offensively last year. That whole balanced attack you're referencing, that's all fine and dandy, but in order to sustain that, you got to be capable of consistently going on 11, 12, and 13 play drives and having those result in touchdowns. And when you do that, you can't have mistakes. You can't have a holding penalty and end up in 2nd and 17 and overcome it. You can't end up with a false start on 3rd and 7 and end up in 3rd and 12. You can't have the batted ball on 2nd and 8 that brings up 3rd and 8 that messes up your drive and your rhythm, because you're going to end up punting or settling for a field goal with that. So to avoid all of that, you need more explosive, dynamic plays. That's why we went after Ryan Fitzpatrick, because we know he's a gunslinger and he's going to cut it loose. And that's why we added all of the skill guys that we did with all the speed that we've added. We feel like we should be able to stretch defenses. And worst case scenario, you get teams worried about what you can do over the top, and that opens up a lot of the underneath stuff that we like to run. We love to run the mesh concept. That's a huge part of our offensive scheme, are those 2 shallow crosses coming from opposite sides of the field and going across. And then you've got concepts behind them that if the linebacker sucks up or his eye discipline is bad, there should be routes coming open behind him. But if he wants to play back, then you hit those underneath. And if you get guys that can push the football up the field vertically, they got to either respect it or they're going to give up the big play. So we want to be more aggressive for sure, without a doubt. I think that's going to be one of the emphasis. And our offensive coordinator has already said that's one of his emphasis this year, is to have more explosive plays. We didn't have enough of them last season. Thank you for the super chat, Silver V. Got another one here from Honor Immortal. Thank you for your 4th super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Honor Immortal writes, do you know why Destroying can't get a shot? I think that old football mentality continues to haunt him, where they think he cares about being a celebrity and a social media savant more so than a football player. You know, with football coaches, the biggest thing for them is family, religion, and then football needs to be somewhere next in your pantheon and pecking order of things that are most important to you in your life. And I think a lot of coaches and a lot of organizations look at him as a guy that is a publicity stunt, a guy that isn't interested in being a professional field goal kicker, but rather a field goal kicker, a YouTuber that wants to try and kick field goals. And I think that's hurting him right now. The fact that he chose his YouTube channel over kicking in college, that turned a lot of teams off to him. So I think there's that narrative out there about him that he didn't care about football. Whether that's true or not, if they don't ever get to know him, they'll never know if that's a reality or not. But that's the perception out there, and I think that's what's going to stop teams from giving him a chance. And let's keep it a buck. There are kickers that come from the collegiate ranks. There are kickers that are going to be continued to be recycled in the NFL. Before he gets a chance, they've got to go through all the kickers from the collegiate ranks, all the guys that went undrafted, all the kickers that are being recycled around the league that have kicked with experience. All of those guys have to run their course before they go outside and try something unconventional, which that's not going to happen. There are only 32 kickers in the league. There are probably another, 20 or 30 guys searching for work. They're going to just continue to recycle the guys that get cut. And then there'll be other guys that are working in other leagues like the Canadian Football League. Those guys will get a chance first before they give a guy on YouTube an opportunity. They don't care how far he can kick the football. So just think of it that way. Thank you for the super chat. Honor Immortal. Got another one here from DCJ. Thank you for the super chat, DCJ. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, just NFC East, Washington football team looked most ready. Agree. In terms of the preseason week 1, I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. The Giants, and I felt like the Giants didn't even try. They put nobody on the field. Neither did the Cowboys. The Cowboys at least put some of their defensive starters on the field, but they didn't put any of their offensive guys. They're protecting them. They're in bubble wrap, essentially. But they at least look competitive. I thought the Eagles showed well, and I thought Washington showed well, initially. So I thought those were the two teams in the division that showed well, but that doesn't mean anything for the regular season. Those two teams could be the two best teams in the preseason and turn out to be the two worst teams when the regular season gets underway, for all we know. So you don't want to put too much stock into the preseason, but you do want to put your best foot forward. Whomever's out there, second string, third string, you want to put, and I told you already, I feel like the preseason, among other things, is a huge determining factor as to how much depth you have. You're going to find out in the preseason, especially if you're not playing your starters for very long. We're going to find out how good your second team and third team players are. And you can easily tell that by how some of these games go. You look at the score. If it's 19-16, it's 16-15, it's 19-17, then your second and third teams are really competitive. If it's 33-6, yeah, your second and third string stinks. You're probably top heavy on your roster. So most of the games around the league, they looked like that. They were 22-13, 17-13, 16-15. They were close ball games, very competitive. But then you got a couple of ass thrashings, and that's when you start running into the teams where you're like, man, they don't have a lot of depth. Like the Texans, their problem isn't depth. They'll be in every one of these preseason games. Depth isn't their issue. Excuse me. They got plenty of depth. Their problem is they don't have enough elite talent. They'll out-depth a lot of teams, but their frontline talent is non-existent, essentially, in Houston. So they're going to lose because my ones are way better than your ones. But if something were to happen to my ones and my twos have to play, your ones and your twos and there's not that much difference in Houston between their ones and their twos and some of those threes. They got so much depth. They just don't have a lot of frontline starters. So it is what it is. But I thought the Eagles looked really good. I was impressed with Jalen Hurts. I already talked about that. I was impressed with their defense. I thought they had some intensity against the Steelers, and they came out and they took it to them. They were up 13-0 relatively early, or maybe 13-3 or something like that early in that ball game. They came out ready to play. So I thought the Eagles looked good. Thank you for the super chat, DCJ. J. Got a super chat here from Hunter Hodovic. Thank you for the super chat, Hunter Hodovic. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Double H writes, "Sup, T? What up, Hunter?" Says, "How's your day going?" It's going pretty good, man. It's going even better now that I'm chopping it up with y'all. It's always a fun time when I'm kicking it with y'all, especially on Wednesdays for social media maneuvers. He says, "Celebrating 24 years of life today, man. Happy born day, man. Happy born day indeed. You're a fellow Leo like myself, so big ups to another fellow lion in the building, man." He says, "And wanted to show some love also with the new logos that popped up recently. Which one of them are your favorites?" I really don't have a favorite, honestly. I told you I'm over the whole, Washington football team name and this, that, and the third. I know you saw the making the brand or something, whatever it's called, something the brand or whatever it's called. It was the third episode of the series that they're doing. It was well done, but I find it hard to believe that they're still choosing a name. That to me is disingenuous, honestly. Like at this point of the process, if you're telling us you're rolling out a name next year, you can't still be trying to figure out what that name is unless you have the rights, trademarks and all of that stuff, website names and everything of 3 different names, and you can go with either one because you've already got all of them locked up and locked, stocked, and ready to go. I find it hard to believe that you haven't already dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's, and now it's just about making fans feel engaged and making them feel like they're a part of the process and getting them excited for what's to come. I think that's more about, along the lines of what they're doing and less about them actually determining the name. I think they've already figured that part of it out. But I saw the logos on that show, on that episode. None of those appealed to me. I hope, and look, I honestly, I don't really know how I feel about logos and things of that nature. I don't want it to be anything crazy. Like, if it's just a letter, I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with, an R for Red Wolves or whatever, and they go back to the traditional R. I'd be cool with that. Like, I don't want them to reinvent the wheel here, but we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. Thank you for the super chat. And once again, happy born day, Hunter Hodovic. So that's the last super chat. I think we'll take one more hashtag Louie T Live, and I think we'll then roll to our last segment of the show. Brandon Brantley says, "Did you notice Danucci had an ankle bracelet on and said he was on house arrest?" Yeah, but that wasn't what that was. He was kidding around because they said he needed more swag. Excuse me. It was probably an ankle brace. So, with his socks pulled up a bit, all you saw was the top portion of it. And so it looked like a bracelet. I don't think it was actually like a ankle bracelet. He's not on house arrest or anything like that. So I think it was more of an ankle brace just to protect his ankle. And that's the only part of it you could see. And he was making a joke out of it because they was, saying he didn't have any wristbands. All the quarterbacks at camp for Cowboys had on hoodies underneath their jersey. He didn't have any of that. He was just kind of plain Jane out there. So they were making fun of him about that. Jason says, "What's good? What's good with you, Jason?" He says, who would you take right now, AGG or Josh Palmer?" I'm sticking with AGG. Josh Palmer looked really good in his first preseason game. I talked about that. He had a real good connection with Chase Daniel in those first 2 possessions. Might have been the first possession of the game or the second possession. But early on, Josh Palmer looked good. He got lit up on one play and was slow to get up, but he looked really good. And better than AGG's looked at any point of his NFL career to this point, which is sad because Palmer's played in 1 NFL preseason game and AGG's now going into his second year, but AGG's rarely played. So I still take AGG. I still want to see what's there. I think there's something there. He just needs confidence. But ultimately, we'll find out. Man, Palmer may ultimately be the better pro. We'll see. But I'm sticking with AGG. I told you, I have patience. Unlike a lot of people, I have patience because I know what goes into this process. I know how hard it is to work at something and it doesn't happen overnight. And everybody doesn't get it at the same time. I'm aware of this. I'm very cognizant of it. So I don't try to rush the process. And ultimately, we may get to the end of this process with AGG and find out that he's just not very good. And that happens. But you have to allow the process to play itself out before you can make that determination. A lot of people want to skip steps and just go straight to, oh, yeah, this guy's a bust or he's garbage. That's not me. So I'm going to stick with my guy because I think he does have talent and has potential, and I want to see it through. So I'm sticking with AGG. Thank you for that comment. And now we are going to transition to our final segment of the show, garbage time. So let's talk about Jamal Adams and his contract. So this is a saga we talked about ad nauseum here on this program and how it could be sleepless in Seattle if they don't figure that situation out. And last week we talked about the Seahawks putting their foot down and saying, this is our last offer to Jamal Adams. Take it or leave it. And I don't know how serious they were in that declaration, or if that was just, something that someone put out there. But at the end of the day, cooler heads prevailed. The Seahawks stepped up to the plate, made Jamal Adams the highest paid safety. At one point, I told you he was talking reckless. He wanted $100 million, this, that, and the third. Well, I think what ended up happening is that there was a compromise between his camp and the Seahawks. I think Adams wanted to be the first triple-digit safety in the league. He wanted, because remember, he said, I'm not a safety, I'm a playmaker. I needed to be paid and treated as such. And he tried to circumvent the whole safety conversation because the Seahawks were willing to make him the highest paid safety on a per annual average basis. Remember, I think Landon Collins getting the 6-year, $84 million deal was the highest in the league. And I think it still was up until the deal that the Broncos safety just signed. I think his is more than Landon Collins. I think 84 divided by 6 is 17. Let me do the math real quick. But I think that's correct, if I'm not mistaken. It's 14, excuse me. So I was way off. So I think Justin Simmons just got a deal, and I think his was somewhere in that 16, maybe 15 and some change ballpark. So Adams now leapfrogs him at over $17 million per year on a 4-year, $70 million extension with $38 million guaranteed of that deal. And I told you the new magic number for these deals are to have over 50% of them guaranteed. So half of 70 is 35. He's getting 38 million guaranteed. So he's somewhere in that 53, 54 percent range of his deal being guaranteed to him. So it's good money. He's the highest paid safety in the league now. I think if it were a 5 or a 6-year deal, that's where he would have been pushing towards 100 million. The Seahawks didn't want to do that, so I think they shortened the years, which meant they could come down on the amount. If they wanted to go to 5 or 6 years, then I think he would have been asking for 100 million. So I think there was a compromise between his camp being Jamal Adams' camp, and the Seahawks. Seahawks wanted to make him the highest paid safety. I don't think they wanted to make him a guy that was making $20 million a year. Jamal Adams wanted to be the highest paid safety, but I think he wanted to be closer to $100 million, excuse me. And so they said, we'll shorten the years, which will bring the number down, but you'll still be the highest paid safety in the league. And he's going to do that at 4 years, $70 million extension. And so that's a big time deal. 25 years old, getting that kind of money, life-changing money for him. It's a big win for Jamal Adams, finally getting to the bag he could not seem to find in New York with the Jets. Now, the real question becomes, do the Seahawks take care of some other pressing needs in Seattle? Again, he's 25 years old. You know, one of the things that I saw coming from this deal was, I don't know if you guys saw Tyrann Mathieu and his reaction to this deal on socials, where he said, yeah, the disrespect, is real, essentially saying that, okay, he's getting this type of money. I think this is the last year of the deal he signed with the Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, he signed a 3-year deal with the Chiefs. That was now 3 years ago. So this will be the last year of that deal. I don't know how old the Honey Badger is. He's got to be north of 30, though. There's no way the Chiefs are going to sign up for a deal like this, I think. But he's such an integral part of their defense and their football team. He's a leader of that team, not just the defense, but also a dynamic playmaker for them. He makes so many things go for that defense. Let's see how old Tyrann Mathieu is. I really think he's got to be 31 years old. I'm telling you, the Chiefs don't have that kind of money laying around to pay him. So when you saw him say the disrespect, though, he's talking about the Chiefs because I think he wants a new deal. He sees that kind of money being boundied about, and he's like, where's mine? I'm better than this dude, you know? And he's 29 right now, and he just turned 29. So he's still he's a lot younger than I thought he was. So he'll be 30 next year when that contract's up, essentially. And the Chiefs are going to have to make a decision. You know, they're going to have to either pay this guy. I know they don't want to lose him, or they're going to have to let him walk and let him get his money elsewhere. But I don't think the Chiefs have that kind of money. You look at some of the deals they've handed out, man. They paid Kelsey. They paid Chris Jones. They paid Patrick Mahomes. They just shelled out a bunch of money on the offensive line, including the guard from the Patriots. I don't think they have a ton of money left, like to just be, handing out to a Tyrann Mathieu. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with him. But he's definitely not happy after seeing this money. So, there's always a trickle-down effect when these types of deals get done. When we saw Fred Warner get his deal in San Francisco, the trickle-down effect was, okay, we saw the money he got. Well, we know who's next. The Maniac is next in Indianapolis. We know he's up next. Okay. How much is Darius Leonard going to get? He's going to be the new highest paid inside linebacker. And he was. So there's always a trickle-down effect to these deals. When Landon Collins got that deal, the trickle-down effect was Earl Thomas got a big deal. Tyrann Mathieu got a big deal. All the safeties that offseason got a big deal because Landon Collins set the floor. And so the rest of those dudes signed 3-year deals, but they were very lucrative 3-year deals. So we'll see what the trickle-down effect of this deal is. Justin Simmons signing in the offseason had the trickle-down effect of this deal happening. And now I think Tyrann Mathieu is like, I need my bread now. I see how big of a slice these dudes out here getting. I need my slice of the bread now. So we'll see what happens. But interesting times in the National Football League. But to me, he was the last big domino to fall this offseason. There were a lot of disgruntled players, but the new CBA doesn't allow a lot of these guys to sit out. We knew that Xavier Howard wasn't happy in Miami. They restructured there. They gave him a little hush money. And so that situation has been resolved. The Patriots had an issue with their star corner, Stephon Gilmore. They've rectified that. And, there's still other guys out there. Zach Ertz had to show up. He wanted to be traded. It wasn't happening. So he had to show up. Chandler Jones wants a new deal in Arizona. Hey, what you going to do? You can't sit out. So this was the last big domino to fall. Like, what was going to happen with Jamal Adams in Seattle? This got done. To me, everybody's here and accounted for. Now let's go play some ball. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, and the 191st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I thank you guys for joining me once again. If you're out there, please do me a huge solid. Hit the subscribe button for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And lastly, hit the like button. There are so many of you out there, over 160 of you out there currently. And right now we are at 86 likes. That's a good number, actually, a really good number, but we can do better. We can do better. Let's get up to 100. Shit, we right there. We're on the precipice of 100. We're right there on the doorstep. We knocking. I'm going to let you in. Go ahead and go. Get to 100. So I thank you guys so much for joining me on today's show. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys in the near future. Hoping that if you're a Washington fan, we don't get interrupted. There's supposed to be a big storm rolling through my area tonight. Last time we had a big storm, the power went out. I was fortunate I wasn't live then, but we'll see. We're supposed to have some nasty storms, supposed to be a tornado watch, all of that good jazz tonight. So hopefully the Washington Football Report Live goes off without a hitch. But you know where you'll find me at 8:30 p tonight. The show will keep on rolling, and hopefully we get through it without a hiccup. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Remember, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.